sharing old devices and new stories. Welcome to the 9th episode of Electronic Walnuts. Today we're talking about the Apple Watch Series 4. Let's go back 15 years. If the Nokia 5230 was my first encounter with a smartphone, then the Apple Touch 4 was my first real glimpse into the future. In early 2011, when I was in my final year of junior high school, I often watched various digital product reviews and unboxing videos on YouTube. It was around that time that I noticed a device even more captivating than the iPhone 4, the Apple Touch 4. What fascinated me was its appearance. Its almost unreal thin body and the single piece of mirrored stainless steel on the back exuded a unique sense of refinement from top to bottom. At the time, I didn't quite understand what kind of device it was, I just thought it was incredibly beautiful. I never imagined a media player could be made like this. Later, I scraped together enough money, there wasn't an Apple store in my city yet, and went to a nearby authorized store to buy a 32GB black one for 2,398 yuan. I still remember the feeling of secretly opening this digital device after buying it and locking the door. I'll never forget it. There was a sticker of the system interface on the front of the Apple Touch 4. When I turned on the screen and entered the system, my first impression was how it looked exactly like the sticker. The content on the screen was so clear, it was like it was printed on. It brought my eyes, which had been glued to the 5230, to a whole new world. Not to mention the second shock the capacitive screen gave me. Even the most basic operations like swiping, tapping, and zooming were incredibly impactful for me at that time. I realized that this wasn't just an ordinary MP4 player, it was actually a phone that couldn't make calls. A very bold idea popped into my head, this must be what Apple wanted to make in the future, only that current technology wasn't quite there yet. The feeling of holding just a screen in my hand was so futuristic. That was when I was first truly impressed by Apple. My family already had Wi-Fi, so connecting the iPod Touch 41 felt completely different. This device could do so much. I registered my first Apple ID on this machine, and I still use that account today. The first time I opened the App Store, it gave me another shock. Before, installing software on my iPhone 5230 required searching everywhere for forums and getting signature verification, but on this device, all the software was neatly arranged like products on a shelf. The App Store alone could keep me browsing for half a day. The first software I downloaded back then, I think, was QQ and QQ Space, because WeChat didn't exist yet and everyone carefully customized their QQ spaces. But QQ on iOS and Symbian are like two completely different worlds. I remember back in the day, logging into QQ on the Touch 4 would show that my iPhone was online, which was quite satisfying for my vanity. The 3.5-inch screen doesn't seem big today, but back then, I felt that playing games, browsing the internet, chatting, and watching movies on that screen wouldn't feel small at all. To buy my favorite games and software on the App Store, I even placed my first ever Taobao order to top up my account. I played a lot of games on it and discovered that Doodle Jump was very different on the Touch 4 compared to the 5230. I wanted to browse the store every day, there were always new things to explore. But what really got me completely hooked wasn't the software and games, but jailbreaking. At first, I was researching something called Apple Peel, an accessory that allowed the Touch 4 to insert a SIM card and make phone calls. But later I found out that to actually use these functions, I had to jailbreak. At first, I didn't know much about it and even went to the electronics market and spent 50 yuan to have someone jailbreak it for me. But not long after, I learned how to jailbreak it myself. After that, what I was most interested in wasn't installing cracked software, but studying CDS. I started browsing forums, looking up tutorials, installing plugins, modifying various status bar buttons, and even icon fonts. If it crashed, I would flash the ROM and start over. It sounds complicated, but at that time I was really enjoying it. I even bought a few genuine Commander plugins. In the end, I didn't buy an Apple Peel, but I was still obsessed with tinkering with the system. Now, looking back, I was a junior high school student, and I dreamed about the system interface and scrolling code at night, which was really exaggerated. For me, the Apple Touch 4 wasn't an MP4 player, nor was it because I couldn't afford an iPhone alternative. It was my first real entry point into Apple mobile devices. Although I later sold my iPod Touch 4 to buy an iPhone 4S, it was from that Apple Touch 4 that I began to pay more attention to system interaction and the industrial design of a product. The first shock it gave me is something I will never forget, and it's something I haven't experienced in the past 15 years. Later, I didn't touch the Touch series again until 2020. That year, I was preparing for my postgraduate entrance exam, and I felt that the Touch series was coming to an end. So I ordered a red iPod Touch 7 from the official website and even had it engraved. I didn't buy it to actually use it, but to commemorate this product that meant so much to me. Now that it's over, what really reminds me of the Touch 4 is last year's iPhone Air. When I first saw that product, I felt a sense of relief. The first thing that popped into my head was that Apple finally made the iPhone look like the iPod Touch after 15 years. Although I used an iPhone 17 Pro Max last year, it didn't provide a good grip experience during the 6 months I used it. I increasingly didn't want to pick it up, and it felt heavy in my pocket. Even in 2026, I couldn't resist switching to the iPhone 1. The moment I held it in my hand, I was truly a little dazed. That lightness and exquisite feel really reminded me of the first time I held the iPod Touch 4. After waiting 15 years, Apple has finally brought the future I envisioned to my own hands. Okay, that's all for this episode of Electronic Walnut. If you've also used an Apple Touch, feel free to share your story in the comments. If you liked this video, please like, save, and follow me. I will continue to share my stories with these digital mentors. See you in the next episode, which is also the last episode of the first season.